Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips.
Welcome. Hello, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey.
Hello, everybody.
Unlocking Your Truth is broadcast from CIVL on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley. And it's broadcast from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. And as well, it is live streamed onto the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group, as well as my YouTube channel. And as well as that, you can catch all of the podcasts on drlesleyphillipscomp29633. So we welcome your participation. We invite you to tune in any of those various ways. We broadcast every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 Pacific time. Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show, and we live stream to the Facebook group and the YouTube channel because we really welcome audience participation in the discussion.
Except for me, you never let me talk about it.
And we welcome the audience to post questions while we are recording the show. So all the topics are about metaphysics and spirituality. And tonight, the show topic is past life regression. What was the exact title, Corey?
My favorite topic, how a past life regression session can change your life.
How a past life regression session can change your life. Now, of course, I'll be up front and say, I am not a past life regressionist. Actually, not what I do. I'm a past life reader, and there is a difference. But both of these things offer a way for you to glean information about your past lives. So in a past life reading, someone who is a clairvoyant reader, for example, or a psychic person, is able to tap in to your Akashic record and retrieve information about your past lives. Someone who is a past life regressionist, on the other hand, talks you through a process, usually based on hypnotism, that will help you to experience directly your past lives. And it's funny, I just realized, even though I said I'm not a past life regressionist, I'm a past life reader. And I teach other people how to do past life readings. I do also have meditations and processes that can help you directly experience your past lives through meditation, or actually by learning to read them yourself. So I hope that's made a clear distinction. The past life regressionist is usually someone, such as a hypnotist, who will help you get into an altered state of consciousness, a state of relaxation where you can access your past lives. What I do is either I access your Akashic record and reflect back at you what I'm seeing about your past lives, or I train you in clairvoyance and train you to read your own past lives, or there is an Akashic adventure on my website which will take you through 3 simple meditations to experience some of your past lives. Corey might be able to find the link to that the Acacia Conventions and put that in the chat for people who are viewing live. And actually, I've also got one on between lives, now I come to think of it. And sometimes in past life regression therapy, they may also take you to the in-between life state as well as the past life state, so that you can look at the life review, and so that you can even look at your plan to move into this lifetime. So after every incarnation, there is a life review where we're able to see every fine detail of the experiences that we had, and not only experience it from our perspective, and have dawnings of awareness that maybe we even didn't have at the time, but also to be able to see it from everyone else's perspective as well, and see the impact and influence that we had on others during our lifetime. And then all of that information gives us an understanding of our, we might call it spiritual involvement, and what we'd like to learn about, or what we'd like to come in and do next time. So, Corey, in this show, because you suggested this show of how can past life regression change your life?
Yeah.
What were you thinking of? What kind of angle were you thinking about?
Well, just basically, past life information. I always love it because I've done some past life regression, and I've done some past life theory with you as well, which is great. I just find it such a powerful tool. Like the past life regressions that I did, I was having a problem with somebody in my life, and it was a real situation. So I went to like you say, to a hypnotist, and this was before we met. And I went to this hypnotist, and I went through 3 lives. Was it 3 or 2? Two different lives. And then I did also an in-between life. My main thing was to do the in-between life. I wanted to see what was going on the in-between life. And it was so illuminating. Just after I finished I think it was about an hour and a half session, maybe an hour. I don't remember or recall completely. But I remember after the session, I went to the washroom. I was washing my hands. I was looking at the mirror, and I literally glowed. I mean, my aura was so strong, like I could see it in the mirror, just poof. It was crazy. And then I had lunch with a friend of mine who is also a reader. And I walked in, and she looked and said, "What the heck happened to you?" And I said, "Why?" She said, you look amazing. Like, I don't know what happened. What I find it does is you can clear issues with events or people that you're having in your life, like issues that you're having in your life. Because a lot of the issues, just like physical pain, a lot of physical pain occurs from emotional issues. A lot of the ways you look at life and the issues that happen in life for yourself, you cause all the issues in your life yourself. I mean, it's how you react to the stimuli that comes into your life. So the way you react is a learned reaction, and people think a lot of this was learned here, and then they try to overcome what they've learned here, like the peer pressures and things like that. But it's not. It's from previous lives. And when you go back and you just look at this, you look at that previous life and why it happened and how it happened, it can clear up. Just like I like to use the word dominoes, like dominoes clear up your life here. So I think we need to talk about that, and maybe you could bring up some experiences that you've had with students and how their past life readings have affected their lives today.
Sure.
Yeah, because it's
I,
not about, sorry, but
I,
it's not about just learning who you were in a past life, who was your girlfriend in a past life, who were you married to in a past life, what was your name in a past life. None of it's more about how and what experiences you had in a past life.
yeah, and the soul doesn't necessarily store past life information in a linear fashion. This happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. The information is connected based on similar experiences. So when you come for a past life reading, depending on where you're at in your life at the point you go for a reading, we're actually drawing in and connecting to things that resonate with who you are now. And that is actually amazing that we can do that, and amazing that the information is connected in that way, because then that past life reading really does help you exactly based on what you are going through. So the information done correctly in a past life session is really resonant and validating regarding where you are at in your life, and also illuminating in helping shed light on angles that perhaps you had not yet realized. Now, as Corey said, it can be really relate to anything in your life. So it can help you better understand relationships, whether it's a love interest that you currently have, whether it's a difficult, challenging relationship, whether you want to understand what the soul contract with a child might be, or with your parents. Why did you have these particular parents this lifetime? And what has the relationship dynamics been throughout the ages with these members of your soul group? A past life reading as well can shed light on what your purpose for the current life is, what the main soul lessons are in the current life. So it can help you really, if you're lost and floundering around, not knowing why am I here, by looking at a broader perspective across multiple lifetimes, it will give you a snapshot into the direction of your soul, the evolution of your soul, because the soul creates through multiple lifetimes. And so it may explore a particular theme, not just in one life, but in many lives. And those many lives come together to give a very broad spectrum and perspective of the same theme from many different angles. So the example I like to give that explains that is maybe in one lifetime you're exploring the idea of giving and receiving. And so there could be a life where you are a giver, like a mother that's just giving, or a teacher that's giving. Then there might be a lifetime where you are receiving. Maybe you're taking. Maybe it's a lifetime based on greed and accumulation. Or maybe you're an invalid, you're disabled, and you have no choice but to receive from others. And then maybe there's a lifetime where you have it all in balance and you experience balance, giving and receiving. So from the soul's perspective, we can explore many themes like that. And so that can help you understand yourself. If you're stuck in a particular pattern, how to see how that fits into the wider perspective can be beneficial. The other thing that is a really cool thing that we can do in past life work is to access abilities that you developed in past lives. So perhaps in a past life reading or a past life regression, you get some amazing information about who you were and what you did. And, that realization can validate something that you already know about yourself in the current lifetime. Maybe you want to be an artist and you discover that you actually were a famous, well-known artist in the past, for example, or not even famous, but a really accomplished artist. And that validates this desire that you feel within you to do art or whatever it is, science or something else. And, it may open up an avenue that you hadn't quite considered yet. Now, that can come up in a past life reading, but then we can work with you and your multidimensional consciousness and help you to access and communicate with those past lives and to basically upload or download into this body and this lifetime information from that prior lifetime. So you can plug and play because it's all part of your Akashic record to be able to plug and play like that, that information. So, yeah.
Well, it just makes so much sense, like that if, as we go through lives, many lives and reincarnated and come back and go and come back, that this whole episode of eternal life, just having a glimpse of just one life, which is the life you're having now, is not even close to being as powerful as having a glimpse of a whole bunch of lives and understanding how they interact with each other. It just makes so much sense. I love this topic. Brian said this as well. He loves this stuff. He says it just makes so much sense. And I've got one comment, and then we're going to go to a break.
Okay.
And it's from Ali. Ali says, I think about this constantly and could talk about it for hours. Doing this past life work is so much more important than people realize. It's so helpful. It really does shed light on the why is this happening of the present moment. So
wonderful. Well, thank you. And we are taking a break now on Unlocking Your Truth for some messages, but we will be back shortly. Welcome back, listeners. You're tuning into Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. Tonight, we're talking about past lives, how you can benefit from a past life reading or past life regression or doing work around your past lives. Before the break, Corey was saying, it just makes so much sense and how amazing it is to be able to have a very broad perspective beyond the current lifetime. And that's true. But I also just qualify that with, of course, the lifetime you are living is this lifetime right here, right now. So for this aspect of your consciousness, this lifetime is the most important one for you because you're the aspect of your soul that is living this lifetime now. And so I feel it's always important to bring the connection of the past life into this life, because that's where your focus is. So it can broaden your perspective, but we don't want to dilute the focus on the present lifetime because that's kind of your job, this lifetime in a way. Now, I think we've already mentioned some of this. So you can gain access to abilities that you developed in the past. You can gain a new perspective on your life challenges, on your relationships. You can also clear unresolved emotional issues. So things that maybe you've worked on in all sorts of other ways, and you're like, why can't I get past this? Sometimes the key to getting past it is past life information. And, you all heard the stories of people who were afraid of heights or afraid of water and drowning. or afraid of their psychic abilities, and then realize that the origin of that fear is in a past life. And then it makes sense to them, and it's easy then for them to move on because now they understand where it came from. It can also help clear unresolved emotional issues, again, because it gives you a perspective. Let's say there's a particular relationship that you're struggling to understand. Why is the dynamic in the way it is? And then, you might appreciate how it's come to pass by understanding your relationship with that person across multiple lifetimes. Self-limiting beliefs and stuck concepts might be another way that you can use and benefit from past lives to understand where the stuck belief came from. Whether it's, I can't do this. Let's say it's to do with your psychic abilities. I can't do this, or I can't go beyond this level because I'll be an outcast, I'll be ridiculed, I'll be punished. So in the current life, you might have a block where you're really, really stuck. And actually you're sabotaging yourself because there is this belief or concept that it's not going to lead anywhere good. So when you understand where that came from, you can dissolve that and have that not be an issue for you anymore. So there's many ways that we can benefit. I mean, there can even be things that have just curiosity-based things like, why am I in love with Italy and the Renaissance? Why am I fascinated by ancient Egypt? Why am I drawn to a particular place or period in history? Oh, well, it's because I was there. I always, as a kid, I was fascinated by volcanoes and volcanic eruptions. And when I found out about Pompeii, which is that, village or city in Italy, I think the date of that was, I can't remember now, but maybe 800 and something. I can't remember, I'd have to look it up. But I was fascinated by it when I found out about it. And I was fascinated by following stories about it and how they found these bodies who were frozen under the ashes. And later on, I discovered, well, actually, I had a past life at that time. And actually, the past life is somebody well known. And I will, let's talk about well-known past lives. So most of what comes up in a past life reading is ordinary people, not that you were the Queen of Sheba or that you were, a famous pharaoh, but just ordinary lives. That's the vast majority of lives that are lived on this planet. Ordinary but extraordinary, because it's about the content and what the theme that you were exploring and the expansion that you were having. Occasionally, though, it does come up that somebody can validate and verify a past life. And I remember one person I gave a past life reading to, and it was like, she's Charlie Chaplin. And I thought, whenever a famous person comes up, I'm like, oh gosh, it's just going to seem silly that I say this because of course the past life reader would try and make it, something like that. But anyway, so I told her, well, it's Charlie Chaplin. And she said, oh my goodness. And she rolled up her sleeve and she had a tattoo of a bowler hat and a mustache that was exactly a Charlie Chaplin symbol. And she said, I really don't know why I got this tattoo. It just was so important to me. And now I understand why. So she literally had Charlie Chaplin on her shoulder. So that was a really, really fun one. And I've also had people who, were artists who were able to validate the artists that they were. Or one lady who was able to validate a professor in a mathematics professor in one of the US universities. She actually researched him and found him. And so if we ever do find out that we were somebody famous, one of the important things to recognize is you are not that person now. You're somebody different. Because it's quite possible to attach your ego to who you were, and make yourself really important because of that. And so in exploring our past lives, we want to validate that this is another step creation from our soul. Past lives are true soulmates, by the way. People are always saying, well, when am I going to meet my soulmate? Your soulmate is another projection of consciousness from the same soul that you are from. All your past lives are soulmates, all your future lives are soulmates, parallel lives are soulmates. And so your soulmate is not always necessarily a love match. And if it is, it can be something that really stretches you to the limit because the soul really wants to grow and expand.
Well, I like the way you do. Like I've had past life regressions and worked with you on the type of past life readings you do, and I like the way you do it. A regression, I find that the belief with the past life regression is not as strong as the belief when you do a past life reading. People have a tendency to not believe what they're doing, but believe in what you're doing. And so what I find, there can be a sketchiness about a past life regression. Even though they're very strong, there can still be a sketchiness. But when you give a reading, you go into the past lives, pull them, and then associate that past life with the person today and how it's affecting their life in this current reality.
Yeah.
I think it's so much different and so much stronger doing it in that manner and having it done in that manner.
Well, I think what happens in a past life regression is if you're somebody not really trained in that, never done it before, the intellect kicks in. And while you might have visions, you doubt it. Am I making it up? No, come on, I'm making this up. It's not real. So there's a tendency to doubt and not trust and question. Whereas if you can just sit and receive and have this information reflected at you, actually in a reading, it's in a much more concise way when it's somebody who's really, really experienced. And then you listen to that and it really resonates with you. You can tell when something feels right, when it feels correct, when it resonates.
Yeah.
And then that's very, very validating.
The other fact is a lot of people, when they do past life regression, people don't necessarily believe in hypnosis or that they can be hypnotized. And it's not a deep, you're going into a deep, deep sleep, it's not one of those. It's actually more of a guided meditation than it is a hypnosis. So if you don't have the capability of going that deep into a meditation yourself, the probability of you having a really good past life regression is very limited. It's not as strong as when somebody else is walking your life for you. We have some questions. I don't know if you want to take any right now.
I'd be happy to.
Okay, so there's two. There's one from Brian and one from Omida. And Brian says, are we living more than one life at a time? And Omida says, is our soul consciousness living multiple lives, realities at once, or do we live one life at a time? If the answer is multiply, how do current lives and the actions in our lives affect one another?
So I'd like to take one at a time, and Brian's first, and then I'm going to get you to read Amida's again. So Brian's was, are we living more than one
life at a time? Yeah. Are we living more than one life at a time?
Yeah, and depending on how you mean that question, meaning are there other bodies alive on Earth right now that are another version of you from the same soul?
That's what I'm getting from that.
Yeah. So that's common, especially, someone who's like a powerful soul. And especially on a time in the planet, like that's going on in the planet right now, we'll often create multiple experiences to make the most of that time frame. So, for example, if there's a master teacher on the planet like Jesus, you might create 3 lifetimes just to drink it all up, you know. Or now when we're in this very rapid shift. And so I would say that not everybody is doing that, but I think some of us are, and probably especially the ones that are kind of interested in this stuff. So it looks to me, Brian, like there is another lifetime that you've got going on right now. So that's what we call a parallel lifetime. So yes, but actually from the soul's perspective, all lives, past, present, and future, are happening simultaneously because the soul is not embedded within the time-space reality that we are. Okay, can you read me Amita's question again, please?
I can, and I will.
Thank you.
And she says, is our soul or conscious living multiple lives, reality or multiple realities at once? Or do we live one life at a time? If the answer is multiple, how do current lives and the actions in our lives affect one another?
Okay, I might have to take that in a few parts, like leave the last sentence out and read it again in a minute. So, so we answered part of your question when we answered Brian's question. But there was one word that you added to that, multiple realities. Because multiple realities can be multiple realities going on in this world, on this planet, and they can be other realities in other worlds. And so, yes, many of us create lifetimes and experiences in other realities and other worlds, as well as in this one. So you are multidimensional, eternal consciousness. And then the next thing that she said, from what I wrote, I can't. So I've answered the first part of her question. So then what did she say, Corey?
So the next part is basically, it's almost the same question as Brian's. Like, if the answer is multiple, how do current lives and the actions in our lives affect one another, meaning affect those other people that are living those lives?
Okay, so you have to move your mind outside of time. Outside of linear time. So maybe one way of doing it is to see all of the soul's creations as a pattern, and all of those different lives as a energy pattern that are all interconnected. And instead of seeing it, this one happens, then this one happens, then this one happens, it's all blinking on and off together, and they're all interconnected. So yes, what you experience impacts your soul, your higher being, and impacts all of the other aspects of you. So it's hard for us to think outside of time and space because we're so embedded within it. So let's just say it is all interconnected. So you heal something within yourself, that changes something for the whole of your eternal multidimensional being, because you are a part of that eternal multidimensional being.
Thank you. But what's the I know I ask you this every once in a while when you're doing, but we've got a couple of minutes till break. I don't want to take away from somebody's question. What's one of the most fun past life readings that you've done?
It's so hard to pinpoint, I have done, if I was to calculate, if I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I do many past life readings a week, over every week, 52 weeks of the years for 20 years, multiple past life readings and multiple past lives for each person. So, what are the most fun? They're all amazing and they're all unique. And here's the other thing. When I'm doing a reading, I'm not doing it from my intellect. I'm in a trance. I'm in a completely different state of consciousness. And I am basically channeling that person's information, that person's Akashic record, and I'm reflecting it back at them. That's not my information to take away with me. Imagine if I stored up all of those stories of all of those people's many lives, I'd be carrying around like, so I tend to channel the information and then move on from it and not actually, consciously create a storehouse of it, which in one sense is a shame because I'd have lots of amazing stories to tell. But just bear in mind, there's been thousands and thousands and thousands of past life readings that I've done. And I'm just in the moment with the person, reflecting back at them what is most relevant for them to know about at that point. I mean, I'm even, I stopped counting about my own past lives when I got past 100. And beyond that 100, that was before I even did my, in-depth psychic training 20 years ago. So I'm sorry, nothing sticks out because there's just been so much and so many of it.
Well, that's okay.
Good.
let's go to a break.
We'll be back soon, listeners. Welcome back. You're tuning into Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey, talking about how past life regression or past life readings can change your life. And actually, there was a question before the break, which was actually it can change all of your lives. Because through the past life reading, you get an expansion of consciousness that then feeds it through to the whole of your being, which is quite mind-boggling and amazing.
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just past lives are there's something about past lives that just intrigue me, and again, I think it plays to my spiritual nature. I mean, spirituality, your spiritual nature is not bound by time or space. And saying that, it's so nice to be able to break that confining thing called time or space. And I remember with one of my regressions, I died. Actually, was killed by the person that was I was having issues with, right? And so I died, and I actually stood there and watched me die. Not stood there, but I floated out, and I was watching. It was an out of body experience, watching me die in a past life. It was just so interesting. And then in between, when I went to the in between lives, to see the spirits that I travel with on a regular basis, it was about 20 of them, and none of them I recognized by visual experience. It was all by their entity, their spirituality, their essence. It was so neat to just be able to do that, like it's.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing because how do you, when you're doing a past life reading or a past life regression, how do you recognize the different characters that show up again and again? And it's not because they look like the same. It's because the energy signature, the energy frequency is recognizable because each of us has our own unique energy signature. And so it's by picking up, well, that's the same energy. Somebody asked me, well, what past lives did I have with my husband? The husband could be a daughter, a mother, a brother, a boss, an enemy, all sorts of different things scattered in the past lives, looking completely different than he might look now. But how he's recognizable is by his unique energy frequency. The same thing in terms of the person I'm doing the reading for. You might get a scene from a past life with multiple characters. How do you know which is the one that's the person that you're reading? Is by the energy signature. You recognize the energy signature of that person. And so it's funny because you can find these websites, which is proof that this famous person was this other famous person in a past life. And the proof is they put two photographs side by side and they look the same. And no, you can be, and many of us have really any race, any gender, you know, any continent, any spiritual belief system, all sorts of variety have you experienced in your past lives. And I think that's another wonderful thing about opening people up to past lives, is because if you realize I've been black and white and red and yellow and brown, I've been a Buddhist, I've been a Christian, I've been a Muslim, I've been a Zoroastrian, I've been a Sikh, I've been, I've been all of these things. And so literally, they're namaste, the God in me greets the God in you. I recognize myself in you. We ultimately, we're all one, but also you're not so different. You're not so separate. And so for all of these people who are, whether they're racist or sexist or bigoted in another way based on their religion or their political beliefs or whatever it is, you're embedding yourself in a particular point of view. You're exploring it, but that's not all that you are. You're so much beyond that. And you are the one that you're hating. Kind of feeling that, probably, right?
Sure, everybody wants to hear that one. You are the one that you're hating. Everybody's going to go to bed tonight. No, I hate myself.
Well, that is what you're doing. You're kind of hating yourself, or yeah.
Well, it makes sense, It makes sense. It's just. I found with the past life regression that I had, I actually was looking out my eyes, and I could see my body, and my body was different, and I could actually smell myself. I smelled bad. It was terrible. It was disgusting. Because I was a duke in pre-French Revolution France, and it was disgusting.
I probably didn't wash their clothes very often,
or their bodies,
Yeah.
their hair.
Interesting.
Oh well, yeah, it is very much. Fran says, "Thank you, Dr. Leslie, for my past life reading. I think about it daily and how much it resonates with my current circumstances."
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Ryan says, "Can people reincarnate immediately, or is there a space-time between each life?"
So again, that's another time-based question, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but I guess if we answer the question from the perspective that it was asked from, yes, yeah. People can embedded in our time frame, they can reincarnate immediately. They can overlap. They can be born before they die. You can reincarnate immediately. And I think actually, if you researched it, you could probably find examples of, granddad passes away and little Johnny gets born within the next day, and actually it's the reincarnation of. Another common one, actually, I think, is when people have miscarry and lose a baby, and often the next baby that comes to term can be sometimes the same soul that they lost. Not always. Sometimes a soul is just looking for a little short piece of time and experience in the earth plane reality. Either because that's just all that they need, or because they're finishing off a little, growth cycle. They need to come back into a body for a short time rather than a long time. So do we have more questions?
Yes, we have some more. This one's from Patrick, and he asked, how do you get a past life regression? How much? And what I did is I've just put the reading page on, and if you want to explain, there's 30, 60, and 90-minute reading.
Yeah, so you can, how much you want to pay, you can, the more you pay, the more time you get and the more past life information you get, basically. So you can book for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, or 90 minutes. The 1 hour session is $140, basically, which is actually really a good price. And within the space of an hour, you can probably find out about 5 past lives. And within the space of half an hour, you can probably find out about 3 past lives. I mean, I would say that's another difference between a regression and a reading. An experienced reader can get the information quickly and get straight to the point really quickly and move on really quickly, where a regression is, it can be a slower process. But I remember once going to, actually it was a Hay House event, and they had all their, authors, and they had Wayne Dyer before he passed away. And he brought this lady onto the stage that he really liked because she'd taken him through a past life regression. And he said, oh, so-and-so is amazing. She took me through a past life regression and it only took 8 hours. And it's funny to me because I can give you 3 past lives in half an hour. So, but it depends what you prefer. Do you want to have it reflected back at you? Do you want to be taken there and validate it through your own eyes and your own experience?
So I've left the information there for Patrick and on Facebook as well.
Not supposed to do that for the radio show, actually.
No, I'm not.
Just cut that bit out. Not allowed to advertise.
Yeah, I shall. Brian says, wow, that kind of blows my mind. So I'm currently living another lifetime now in what would be considered this timeline. Is there some kind of theme I'm exploring?
Well, there might be, but sometimes they can be very, very different. Very different. I mean, I know when I've looked at my parallel lives, they're quite different than me. Probably wouldn't pass them in the street and spend the time of day with them, kind of thing. But anyway, let's take a look. Let's take a look at who we might see. Well, I feel like I'm seeing a little African boy, and he's probably about 8 years old. And he lives somewhere very, very sunny. And he's not poor. He looks, reasonably well off, well taken care of. He's wearing nice clothes. It looks like he lives in a nice place. It's possibly in Nigeria. I mean, it looks like he's getting a good education, and it looks like he's got parents who care about that. And it also looks like he is kind of scholarly and keen and enthusiastic and about learning about life. And I think that there's possibly a family business that he is expected to go into. And so it looks like he's just already learning about that and interested in it and wanting to prove himself. And, so, yeah. And he feels like he's born there because there's an exciting feeling of expansion and progress and development and excitement about possibilities. That's what came up to say.
That's interesting. Sounds like Brian.
Does it?
Yeah. He's concerned about his development and he's working on that.
Oh yeah, but this little it's more like this guy's more interested in business and progress and than the spiritual stuff. But who knows what he might grow up into? That's what I'm seeing right now.
The other thing I like about your past life readings is that you record them, so it's not just like one shot and then you leave and you forget all the things that were listed. So you can listen to it over and over again and catch it. Like it's not lots of people do that or even allow you to do that. So this is from Amita, and she said, "If we are living, sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly." If we are living multiple realities, lives at once, is there a part of our consciousness who is in charge of orchestrating what themes we are working on?
That would be at the soul level, the level of your soul, whether we call it your soul or your higher being. Your soul, your oversoul. Yeah.
Your soul, your oversoul?
Yes, yeah.
Brian says, good choice on topic, Corey. Maybe this should be a two-parter. Lumina says, what would happen if you met an incarnation of yourself in the same lifetime? Like if Brian, who also commented, met the little African boy.
It's also
him.
Well, it's a very good question. And
the last question.
Different things. There's no one thing that might happen. You might meet them and they might be your worst enemy. You might pass them in the street and not give them a second glance. I did know of, when I was doing my psychic development training, there was a married couple who were soulmates, who were from the same soul. And it was one of the most spiritually, I guess, challenging relationships because it's like waking up every morning and kind of looking at yourself. If you want maximum growth and maximum expansion and buttons to be pushed, and to have to face yourself and deal with your stuff, that was what their relationship was like. So I think it depends on what the mock-up for that happening would be. I think it probably could be different in each case, really. But you might meet them and not like them at all.
You mean time as we know it won't disintegrate?
Right.
Lori says, just a comment from Lori says, hi, Leslie and Corey, just wanted to say hi, and that when I first met Leslie, she read a past life that I saw as, well, sometime before the reading. So she saw her own past life and then got it confirmed in her reading. It really confirmed my belief in reincarnation. Thanks, Lori. Nice to hear from you again, by the way.
Yes, and
I haven't heard from you in a while.
Sometimes that happens, where somebody's already got an inkling and then wow, yeah, it really validates for them.
Yeah. And don't go looking for yourself in this life because, like I said, the timeline might just disintegrate. Anyway, that's it for tonight, Dr. Leslie.
That's a topic. You know what? I don't think we've ever done future selves as a topic. That might be a cool talking about collapsing timelines.
Yep, next week we will do future selves.
Meeting a future version of yourself. That's
maybe we could bring up Dr. Wise. Okay, folks.
Sayonara.
This has been Unlocking Your Truth on CIVL and in the Fraser Valley, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Take care now. Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillipscomp.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. You can also find the questions that were asked during this show at the website on our free card reading podcast page, where you'll find a full list of them. Come back again.